Hey, what's going on, guys? Hope that everyone will be fine, and welcome back to another tutorial. So in this video I'm going to explain you how you can create a CRUD using Node.js, Express, and MongoDB. So we will create a RESTful API, and in the coming videos I plan to make a mean stack video where we will use front end as an Angular, right? So we will create API using Node.js and the MongoDB in Express, right? So that's what we can do in the next video, but this video is just simply a very conceptual for beginners, those who have no idea how to create an API, so we can all create the create, update, delete, and read, right? So that's what I'm going to do here. So the first thing you need to do, make sure you have your mongodb.com open, and you need to install some software for the recommendation. So the first thing you need to do is to click on the software, and in my case I already installed the Compass. Just want to show you where you can go install that. So you need to go open the Compass and click on the try it now, and that's where you can install by just simply download that. You can, if you're using Windows, so you just need to click on that, or you can change the platform, right? That's where you go. Okay, so once you're done with the Compass installation, and which is basically a graphical user interface, just like it, where you can create the database using Compass, a platform where you can just simply create collections, which is again, the MongoDB is a new NoSQL database, and which has not like a relational database. It's completely different. It's more like a JSON or BSON, which I'm going to explain to you later on, right? So make sure you have installed the MongoDB Compass, and next thing you need to do is to install if you haven't installed the Node.js, because we have to install some dependencies, and it's very important to have Node.js installed. So you can install the recommended for more users, or you can click the latest version, right? All right, so once you're done with that, all I'm going to do here is, once you install the Compass, you need to click on the sign in, and you have to log in. If you haven't created an account, you just need to sign up. In my case, I have already created an account, so I'm going to log in with my account. So email, I'm going to type my email. All right, so I just click on here and logged in, and it's going to redirect me direct to the cluster, right? I hope. Yeah. All right, so I can create a new cluster if I want. So you could see I have already tested my project previously. So there you could see the option. Yeah, all you need to do is simply click on the new project, and once you click on the new project, and this is going to ask you the name of the project, and once you click next, so this is going to bring you back. So in my case, I already created my cluster, and which with the name of API _ CRUD, right? You can name that whatever you want. So I'm going to, once you create a project, so this is going to brings you on the screen, and it will ask you to create a cluster. So you can click on the build a cluster. So there are three options to for your path. So the first one is the dedicated multi-cloud, which is not free. And again, the dedicated cluster, this is the multi-region cluster. So the share cluster is already good for your testing website, right? So you can click on create a cluster for free, and there we have some options. So we have an option for the cloud provider and region, which is AWS by default, and this is fine in the region. And you can change the name of a cluster if you want. You just simply click on it, and I'm fine with the cluster O, right? So just simply click on the create cluster, and this is going to take some while to create a cluster, about 1 to 3 minutes, hopefully. So meanwhile, I already created a folder here, and with the name of node_js API. I'm also using Postman, which is a RESTful API testing tool, and make sure you have also installed the Postman. And Postman, all you need to do is to just visit the postman.com, and you can log within or whatever you want. So this is going to open up a dashboard like this, which we are going to see later on, right? So I'm going to minimize this for now, and let's install the npm package.json file. So for the terminal, the first thing I need to here do is to npm initialize and -y, so it's not asking me some questions, which includes some license number or the author name and much more, right? So once I do npm initialize, so it's gonna create my package.json file, which has all the dependencies later on, which we are going to install. And just want to make this so we have some version and the description. The main, basically this main means that your entry point of the file, which in my case I want to change that to app.js, and the scripts, and we can install some modules, and we can change the scripts to nodemon, which is basically tool for running your servers continuously without refreshing, right? Which you don't need to run again the commands and test this out. So it will continuously check your server, right? So we can install that. So let's install some installation. So first I'm going to do here is npm install, and I'm going to install Express, and I also need to install something which is known as the nodemon. So let's install that and press enter. So this is going to install the Express and the nodemon. All right, so let's wait for that. All right, so this is going to install the package.json, which includes the dependencies for the Express and the nodemon. And as I explained, we have installed the nodemon, so I'm going to change that test to be start. And I just need to remove that all from here and just change that to nodemon and app.js. All right, saves it. So that's fine. Okay, so once we are done with that, let's create the entry point of the file, which in my case, which is main, and you can see app.js. So let's create a file with the name of app.js, and inside app.js, that's where we can bring everything inside here. We can bring our Express, we can bring our some environment. We can also create here .env, which is a zero dependency module that loads environment variables, which I'm going to create very soon. So let's first bring the Express here module here. So const Express equal to require, which is again a common JS format. So let's bring here the Express, and the next thing I'm going to do here is to bring in the app. So const app equal to Express, and once you do that, and all I'm going to do next is to just listen I need to listen at the app. So all I need to do is app.listen, and just simply type here 3000, and that's fine. And if I just write here node, and let's type here app.js. So I type and press enter, which is again the node and the name of the file, which is app.js, and simply press enter, and this must be load on the listen on the port 3000. So let's have a look here. So I'm going to type localhost and the port number, which is 3000. So let's have a look and see. And it shows an error which says, not showing an error actually, it's just a message which shows that there is no route, cannot get slash. All right, so we can figure it out later on by creating our view or routes. And next thing I'm going to do here is to install the .env, which I explained. So I'm going to close my running server, and yeah, I have to show you later on. In order to run the nodemon, all you need to do is just simply type npm start and press enter, and there you go. So it will continuously run the server by simply typing npm start, right? Again, I'm closing that now, and let's create a very basic route here first, so just to test out the things. I want to make this video very user friendly so everyone can start with that. So let's create here a very basic route. So I just bring the app, and with the request of get. So get means that we have a request which we need to fetch anything, right? So get request is used for that case. If you need some, we have also a request for post for submitting the form. We have something which is known as patch for something which is used for updating, and definitely with the name delete, we can use that route for deletion, right? So that's what you're all gonna see in this video. So let's first look for the app.get, right? So I use here app.get. Let's bring here the slash for the home page, and I want to bring something which is known as the request and the response. So let's bring up here, and I'm gonna use here ES6. So that's gonna change the ES5, ES6 standards. So make sure you can write like that way, or you can bring the function. So I hope you guys are aware of that. If you have no idea, if you're very much user, you haven't watched any Node.js series ever, so I recommend that you have a very slight knowledge about the JavaScript, something like variables, functions, and some ES5, ES6 new formats, right? So make sure you have the idea of that. Okay, so let's bring up here something which is known as response, which is the res. So I'm gonna send here a response. Let's set that to be hello world. All right, so hello world, and now if I just want to go to, again, type npm start and press enter, and this must gonna show me hello world on the browser, right? So if I just refresh this, and there we go. So we have a hello world right here, right? So that's awesome. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do here, we can also change the route, like if I need app.get, that's what we are going to do in this video. We are fetching the employees, so I'm going to use a /employees, and I want to write the code in a very good practices so that you can use in your project if you want. So let's bring here the employees and bring here the request and the response, and I'm going to bring here my request and the response, and let's pass here the response, like let's write here employees. Right, if I just press enter and saves it, and if I try to refresh this, you see nothing happens. And if I just try /employees and press enter, and there we go. So on base of the route, we can fetch the view, right? So that's how we're going to do later on. And now the next thing I'm going to do is to just connect with my database, and that's it for this video. I'm going to take a break and I will be right back. Alright guys, so welcome back. Now we have set up some very basic routes, we haven't got an idea. We can pass different routes name and we can get the response. Now I'm gonna just show you we have created a cluster. So let's go back here, and once the cluster installs, so you see something like here. Right, so we have the connect and matrix collections. If I click on the connect, so this will ask you to connect with your application, connect your Mongo DB Compass, and you have to make sure you have connect your database access. So if I click on the database access, and this is going to bring me in here, and you make sure you have created here a database name. So in my case, I already created my username and the password. So once you click on the add new username user, so you just need to pass here the username and the password and click on the add user. So in my case, I already created that, so I'm not going to create it more. So the next thing, network access. So in network access, you need to go to your add IP address, and there you go. So you have two options. You can add your current IP address, or you can even select the global, which in your case might showing up. So that's how you can set. So I have set up my IP address, which is your current IP address, or you can set up the global, right? So I set my IP to 0.0.0.0. All right, so broadcasting IP, and all I need to do is to go back to my clusters. And so once you go right here, and so that's how you could see the options coming on your model, where you have connect with the Mongo shell, you can connect your application, so connect using Mongo DB Compass. So in my case, I'm going to connect with using the Mongo DB Compass, and you see that we have installed Mongo DB Compass. So once you click on here, and it will ask you two options. So already I've set up so many I already set up changes, so you can either choose I do not have a MongoDB, I have MongoDB Compass, just choose that, and that's where the string that you need to copy, right? So I'm going to copy that up and just close this one and open up the MongoDB Compass. So make sure you have extract the MongoDB Compass installation zip file, and you just simply click on the exe file. So this is going to open up the MongoDB Compass. So there you have to paste your compass, and you have to change a few things here. So I'm going to change the password, which I have here in my case. All right, so I just add this password, and let's connect this one. All right, so this is going to loading the navigation. All right, so now our cluster and our compass is now connected, and we have to create the database first. So let's give it the name of CRUD, or we can create the name of API-CRUD, right? And you can also create here the collection name, which is your table name, right? So just give it the name of employees. So I'm going to click on the create database, press enter, and there we go. So this is going to create our very first database. You can click on here, and you can click on the collection, and you can add the data if you want. So if I just click on here, you can insert the document if you want. So so you have an option. You can either write in the JSON format, or you can also that's more easier to add the data here on this format. So just want to add some data. So click on the plus add file after the ID, and I want to pass here name. Let's give it a name, and let's pass here John, and it should be John. I hope you guys can't see this, looks very much smaller. I'm going to change the view a little bit, zoom in, right? Zoom in. Okay, so John, and let's give it the email. So john@gmail.com, and the last thing that I need is a salary, so let's give it the 2000, right? Okay, so that's fine. These are the three columns that I need to create, and let's insert it, right? So make sure the object ID should be string, so insert that, and you see there is an ID which is basically unique, so it is a long string, so which is the ID is basically underscore ID, so make sure that it should be underscore ID, which we are going to fetch it later on. We can either, it can be used in deletion, added, or you can also fetch a single ID, right? So that's where you can fetch the underscore ID. All right, so let's go back and just grab the this string which I have already done. I need to click again on the connect and connect using Mongo DB Compass, and just copy that for now, and I'm gonna just paste it right on our Visual Studio Code, right? So I need to create here a folder with the name of config. So let's create here a folder, and inside config I'm gonna create here a file with the name of config.env. all right, so config.env, and let's bring here mongo underscore, give it a variable name mongo underscore URI equal to, and just paste that string, right? So that's again asking me the password, so in my case the password is aviation123, right? All right, so now that's good, and later on I'm gonna do some few more changes. Okay, so let's gonna change that to let's add here a port number 2. So port is 3000 in my case, right? So that's good. Okay, now I need to install some few more dependencies here. So the first dependencies that I need here is the .env, which I explained, which is a zero dependency module that can access your .env file, just like we did .env. So I'm going to install something which is known as npm install. You can either install from the Visual Studio Code terminal, or you can use git bash. All you need to do is simply go to git-scm.com, install the download the for Windows, or if you are either working on the OS like Mac, you can install that too. Okay, so let's type here npm install, and let's type here .env and press enter. So this is going to create the .env for us, and let's bring this in here. So const .env equal to require .env. all right. So once you're done with that, you need to go to your I need to create here a database connection as well. So let's create here a file with the name of db.js. all right. So I need to install something which is known as Mongoose, which is an ODM, which is object data modeling. So let's install the Mongoose here. So I'm going to open up my git bash. So you can use git bash by simply going to git-scm.com, where you can install that. So I want to show you. So if you're using Windows, you just need to click on that. If you're using Mac, and down here you can see the settings, right? So that's how you can install the git bash. So let's install first the Mongoose, right? All right, so simply all I need is the npm install mongoose, and this is gonna install my mongoose, and let's see how long it takes. So for now I'm gonna do some coding. All right, so this install, and let's go inside your package.json, and there you go, right? So it will bring us inside the dependencies. So I'm gonna go back to my db.js file, and let's bring in here the mongoose first. So const mongoose equal to require mongoose, and now here I want to create here a variable with the name of connectdb equal to async. Now whenever you're working with Mongoose, you are working with the promises, and I'm using here async await. You can use anything, right? So I'm going to use here async, and let's deal with the try catch handling. And I'm going to bring this in, try and catch the error if there is some error. So let's bring this in, and I need to console the log and bring up here the error, right? Okay, so try and catch, and now inside here I need to bring here something which is known as the connection. So const connection, sorry, I don't need this bracket, so just remove that for now. So const connection equal to await, and mongoose dot connect, and we have use here the environmental variable, so process.env, and the name which we defined, which is mongo underscore uri, right, which I'm going to show you. So just right, so you could see this is the string that we pasted, right? So mongo underscore uri. And next thing I need here is, let's bring here a comma, and we need some brackets. Inside that, I need to define some parameters to avoid the console errors. So in order to define this, so we have use new URL parser. Let's bring it true. And next we need to have our use unified topology. So let's bring that to be true. And the last thing that I need is the use find and modify, and bring that to be false, right? Okay, so after that, let's bring here inside the console, I need to bring the, I just need to check my connection is working fine. Let's bring here, so Mongo DB connected, and the host name which we can define like con.connection.host. all right, so saves it, that's fine. Okay, now we have set up the connection. If there is a connection, we can bring this in and show us the console, and if there is an error, it will show us the error, and we need to stop the process. And in order to stop the process, I need to just simply use process.exit and bring this one here, right? Okay, so that's how we can end the process. And the last thing that we need is to export the module. So module.export equal to, and the name of that variable, which is connectdb. all right, so that's fine. Now if I go back to my console, you see nothing happens here, and because we have to import it inside the app.js file. So let's go inside here and define the connectdb, right? So let's go inside app.js. I need to just comment this out because now we need to work with the some handling of data and connect the DB, and with the help of Postman, I'm gonna test my API, right? Okay, so I also need to create here something which is known as .env, and you can also install that like npm install. I hope I have installed or not, I'm just not sure. So let's install that .env, and it's installed. Now if I go back to the package.json file, so we have bring this in. So let's first bring this in and define here const .env equal to require .env. all right, saves it. And let's go down here underneath that and define here const connectdb equal to require, and let's bring up the path for that to ./config/db. all right, and down here I need to load the configuration, and that's where we need the help of .env. So let's bring here .env .config, so .config, and here I need to define the path. So the reason why I define here .env, just because we need to access the environmental variable, so we give the path here, and the path is ./config/ and config.env. if I try to save it, and yeah, I need to define this connectdb right after here, so let's define that too. And now if I save it, and let's have a look and see. So there we go. So now MongoDB is connected. We have the cluster name, right? So there we go. Okay, now our MongoDB is connected. So the next thing that I'm going to do here is to define the models. So models are basically like a name of the table that we define. So let's create here a folder with the name of models. And inside models, we have to define some of the fields, right? So let's go inside the model and create a file with the name of employee.js. all right, so inside employee.js, I need to first bring my Mongoose in. So let's define a const Mongoose equal to require, and let's define a Mongoose, and right after here we have to define the employee schema. So we have to define a schema. Let's bring our employee first. So const employee equal to mongoose dot model, and mongoose dot model, define here the employee here first. So employee and bring some fields. So the schema which our table consists of, which has name inside it, so we have to define its type, which is string, and next we have to define the required if we need. So let's bring that to be required to be true, and all you need to do is just copy that and paste it 2 more times and replace the email to, and bring a comma down here, email to be type of string, required true, and change that to be salary. That's fine. Okay, so once you're done with that, and you need to export the module, so module.export equal to employee. All right, so that's fine. Now we have to create here something which is known as the routes. We need to bring this routes in just like we did here inside my main root entry file, which is app.js. We just bring the get request, we define the route which is slash, in my case, which is slash employee in the second case. Then we bring the request and the response, and the good way is always that you have to route, and you have to use the router, and with the help of the middleware, we have to bring these things in. And so that's why I'm creating here a separate file where we define our routes, and we can only use the middleware right here, right? So the router view. So for that, all I need is to create here a folder with the name of let's first collapse this and collapse out, and let's create here a folder with the name of routes. And inside route, I'm gonna create here a file with the name of index.js. All right, so let's first define here the express. So const express equal to require express, and now I need to also install here a package which is known as router. So let's go back to the terminal and simply type here npm install router. You can definitely use the terminal for Visual Studio Code if you want, but I feel I'm okay with that. So now our router is installed. Let's go back to the package.json, and there we go. Okay, so let's first create here the bring the router in. So const router equal to express dot router, and I need to bring my model in, which is employee. So first define the const employee equal to require, and define the model. So /model / employee. All right, so first we need to define here get all employees. So in order to get all the employees, I need to bring my router in. So router.get, we are using a get request here. So we have to define the name of the route, which is /API/employees. I think so I have off my Postman. So I just want to open the Postman so let's click on the Postman, right? Okay, so /API/ /employees, and we need to bring the request and the response. We bring the request and the response. So I'm using here ES5 ES6 standards. So let's define a employee dot find. If there is an employee, let's find that all. We have to define some parameters. So if there is some error or the data, so let's define that. And in order, if there is no error, so we bring here if there is no error, then we have to simply show us the response, which is response dot send, and simply send the data. And on the other case, if there is an error, so we just simply bring here console and error, right? So that's as simple as that. Now the last thing that I need is to export the router. So let's define here module dot exports equal to router. Now this is not gonna work. Now if I go back and save, we have to define inside the app.js file. So let's go back to the app.js and define the routes. So right after the connect DB, I'm gonna define my route. So let's create here a folder app.use, and here slash, and later on I'm gonna show you what this slash does. So require and /route/ and the name, which is index. All right, Now basically that means that this is the root slash, and if I go back to the index.js and whatever I type after that, which is slash API slash employees, so this is going to route me to that page. If I type here something like ABC, so the route should be like slash ABC slash API slash employees. So in my case I want that to be fine. Okay, so now my Postman has been opened, and let's dismiss that. And let's have a very first request for our route. Localhost port number 3000 and slash API slash employees. So the type of the request, which is get, and now if I just simply click on the send, and this is going to show me an empty array. The reason why, because if I go to the my config.env, you see we have set up the password, but we haven't set up the DB name. So in my case, which is slash test, which is not the right name of my database name. So if I go to my GUI Mongo DB Compass, so the name which is API slash CRUD, so I just need to change that to slash API slash CRUD, right? If I just try to save it, and there is no issue if you can just simply, you don't need to close the server, but still just for the confirmation I just want to run the server again. And now if I go back here and send it, so let's have a see, and there we go, right? So we have the data now. We have the ID, we have the name, we have the email, and the salary, which we have just created from the collection. Now if I just try to create another collection, so let's create here the collection. So insert document, and you just need to click over here, and let's define the name and set that to be abnation, and let's give it the email of abnation@gmail.com. And let's define here the salary of 5,000. All right, so now if I just try to insert that, so it insert the collection, and now if I go back to the request and send it, and there we go, now we have our abnation. So later on I'm going to change that to, we can also save using Postman, and we have to create an API. So just take a while for a break for 1 minute, and I will be right back. Alright guys, so welcome back here. So up to this point we have see how we can get all the requests by simply giving the router.get and pass here the request, which is slash API slash employees. We pass the route, and we have to check if there is a data, find the data, and with the help of the response we pass here a response and send the data if there is a data, otherwise shows the error, right? So it's very simple. And now I'm gonna do here is now how we can save a new employee. So I'm gonna create here a new router for the post request. So save employee. So if we are submitting the form, we have to use here a request which is known as post request, and now I have to pass here the name of the route, which is slash API slash employee slash add, and we have to pass here request and the response. And here just right under that I need to create here a new object. I need to create a new model, define a model. So let's create here employee equal to new employee, and I need to define here something which contains of all the normal fields that we have. We have the attribute with the name of name equal to request dot body dot name. Now if I try to submit the form just defining that request and define all the fields, this is not gonna work. We have to use something which is known as body parser, which I have to install, and that's how we can submit the form. Otherwise it's gonna show us the request for the handle request. Okay, so let's look for that next. So let's define here email and request dot body dot email. Next we have our salary. So salary should be request dot body dot salary. Now right after that we have to see if the employee dot save, and this employee save must have two parameters, which is the data and the error. So let's define that, and right after here we have to check the status of that. So I'm going to use here the status of 200, which means that everything is successful, everything is okay, and I need to use here JSON request, and I need to code if the code is 200. So show us the message. So use the message object. So message should be is employee added successfully, and we have to pass here the name, which should be add employee, and pass here the data, right? As simple as that. Okay, so once you're done with that, now I have to define here is to create a body parser and define in my app.js file. So let's gonna create that first. So I'm gonna go to, I want to clear that out, and let's type it npm install body dash parser, and simply press enter, and this is gonna install the body parser for you. So let's define right after the express. So I need to define a const body parser equal to require body dash parser, and I need to use that for that, just bring that right after the app. So I need to use here app.use, and let's define here body parser dot JSON. We want to get the data in form of JSON format. And now let's go back to the request for post request. So I'm going to use the request post, type your localhost and /API, and the request, which is /API / I think so. Let me check this out. So just copy that /employee /add. And now if I just try to go to the body and change that to raw, I need in JSON format. So let's type here and check this out. So name, let's give it the name of test, and the email, oops, so email should be test@gmail.com, and the salary should be in the double quotes, yeah, and the keys and the values format, right? So the salary should be 3,000. Right now if I just try to click send, so you see now the message it says, and the code is 200, which means that everything is okay, which you can see the status, and message, which means employee added successfully, and we can add, we also add the employee. Now in order to test this out, I need to go back to the get request we have. So let's say if I try to retrieve this data, so you see we already existing data, which is John email, and now we have the new data, which is test@gmail.com. all right, so we are good to go. Now we can also add the data, right? So let's go back to the Visual Studio Code, and now I want to retrieve a single data. Now what actually I mean is we have to get the data on based of ID, right? If I just simply copy that, and with the help of the new request, I need to use /API and /ID, the ID that we need to get for the individual user. So let's go and find and how we can retrieve a single data using ID, right? So let's go back to the index.js file, and I'm gonna get the single employee. So right after the save, I need to use here get single employee. So use here router dot get, and I need to bring here /API /employee and the ID, which is colon ID. So we need to define the ID in that way, right? So colon ID, and now we have to pass your request and the response. So let's define your request and the response, and right after here we have to get the ID. So we have to use something which is known as find by ID. So find by ID, we have to get the ID by simply using request.params.id, and I also need to pass the error and the data that we want to send to the response. So here, if there is no error, just simply show the rest.send the data, and on the other case, if there is no error, so simply show us log and tab and show the error, right? So that's how we can grab the error. Okay, so let's have a look and see Now I'm just getting an error just because I forget to bring that arrow function, right? Okay, so saves it, and if I go back to the to my Postman and let's have a request. So I want to copy that, which is very much identical to that. Just I need to pass the ID, and I need to make this a single. Remove the s slash. Now I need to pass the ID. So let's grab this ID. So I'm gonna copy that up, and if I go back to and the request, which is get, and send the response, and there we go. So that's how we can grab the data. We can also grab the data for John if I want. Let's just grab its ID and simply just paste it up here, send the response, and there we go, right? So that's how we can get the single user. So now let's look for updating the data, updating the employee data. So go back to the Visual Studio Code. So right after here, let's update the employee. So it's very much identical to the top. So let's first use here. Now the request which I'm using, request for the method, which is put, because we are updating the data. So we have to use a method for put, and let's bring here the route request. So slash API slash employee slash edit slash colon ID. I need to pass here the ID as well. So very much similar, we have to pass the request and the response, and let's pass here the callback function. And right inside here I need to define some data. So const employee equal to, so for name, definitely we need to pass here request. So I just want to copy it from top. So let's go on top of it and just grab this name, email, and the salary. So right after here I define all the fields, and now I need to update the data. So let's go and type here employee dot find by ID and update, right? So I want to update the data on based of ID. So I use a method which is with the name of find by ID and update, and I need to pass here the ID request. So request dot params dot ID, and next I'm going to use here $set, which I'm going to explain you what actually it does. So $set to employee. So if I hover on it, you could see that it will match the result on based of ID. It will set the data on based of ID and only update the updated data, right? So next I want to make the new. Let's bring here new to be true. If there is updated data, then just update it. So new, I bring this in, and I want to pass here another response, which is the error and the data, which should be in brackets. So error and the data, and right inside here I need to check, simply pass the response. So if there is no error, so response dot status of 200, just like I did on top, and I need to format my data in JSON. So dot JSON, and code should be 200. I need to pass here the message which shows employee updated successfully, and I need to pass here another object for the data. So update employee, you can name it anything. So update employee, and let's pass this data here, right? So as good as that. So let's pass for the another condition, make this a single O, right? So on for the else case, I need to just simply pass here the error and save it. All right, so let's have a look and try. So I'm going to copy that up, and let's go to the Postman and look for the another request. So localhost, and I need to change that to just remove that all, and we have our slash API slash employee slash edit slash colon ID. I need to update the data. So let's update data for the John. I need to make this John Doe the name, right? So let's go here and grab this one slash the ID, and the type of the request, which is put. And let's go and add the put request. Go to your body and select raw, change that to JSON. Let's change the name to be, so let's change the name to be John Doe. I need to change the email to be johndoe@gmail.com, and let's change the salary to, let's change that to 10,000. All right, so if I just try to send the request, and there we go. So you can see the employee updated successfully, changed to that. Now if I go back to my get request and send the response, and if I try to check the data for the John, and you see everything works well. So we have our updated data with the John Doe, we have the email, and we have the salary, right? So if I go back and refresh this, so you see we can also populate the data on our database, definitely, because we are getting the data and with the help of MongoDB, and we can also show that collection on our with the connection that we did with the Mongo DB Compass. All right, so that's good to go. And the last thing that we are left with is how we can delete the data, which is very simple. So let's go back and delete the employee. So delete employee. So I'm going to use a router dot delete. Let's pass a /API /employee / and pass here the ID. I need to pass here request and the response, and let's add here employee dot find by ID and update, just like we did here. Find by ID and sorry, we have to delete, so I need to use here find by ID and remove, right? And I need to just similar like we pass here the ID, so request.parents.id, because I need to delete the individual data. Let's pass here the error and the data and the callback function. So right after here I need to use, if there is no error, right, and if there is no error, just simply send the status response.status of 200, and I need to give here JSON, and let's pass here the code for 200. Message, it should be simply message of employee deleted successfully, and I need to pass here the data. Let's give it the name of delete employee and pass here the data. All right, so let's have a look and see. So I'm going to copy that up and let's have a look. So /API the ID. So I need to go to the Postman, open up the new tab. Let's copy and localhost 3000 and pass here the request, which is /API /employee, and the request, which is delete. Now let's delete the data for the test data. Let's suppose I want to delete this data, and let's go back to the delete here and remove the /ID and bring here the ID, the original ID that we have. Now if I just try to get the send request, and you see now the code is 200, message is that the employee deleted successfully. Let's go back to the get request and see. Now we have to have only two data. So if I click here send, and now you see only we have John Doe and the AB Nation, right? So now we don't have the data for the employee for which we have just deleted. All right, so I hope you guys learn a lot of stuff here. You understand. Now if I go back to the database and if I refresh this, you see now it's removed. So I hope you guys learned something from here. You know how you can create the API, a complete API CRUD that we created with the help of Node.js, Express, and MongoDB. And in the next video, I want to make a mean stack video where we can use this API and use it on our as a front end for the Angular. So if you really love it, so please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I want to see you for the next part.